been lost to YouTube, drifting in the stars, seeking out sources, seeking out the truth. Viewers of the Sense Sphere pleaded for their return. They were lost.
This is a sterile area. Keep out.
Now, the Who pets have been found. In hibernation. In hiding.
Oh, no!
Quaking. Fearing an enemy and fate worse than working in the super chat call center for Brendan, the Worm.
Oh no!
Now,
I've seen it applied on this game.
the Sense Sphere returns. Just in time.
They've survived cosmic wars and holocausts. Here they are, out among...
And your super chats save them from being ingested. The Sense Sphere returns, just in time.
Oh, I can see you've been doing the TARDIS up a bit. I don't like it.
Cheeky devil, who rattled his cage? Good to see everybody. Yes, we're very live. An hour ago I was stuck on the motorway, but we're live. And yes, Bombshell, I know what I'm talking about. BBC View and Doctor Who, I know what I'm talking about. Exclusive leak, because it's from my source. And the source has only told me. So hi, everybody. I'm not on my own. Don't you worry. I've got my stellar panel to actually, number one, react to my news, because I've not told a soul. And then secondly, to debate and discuss what they've learned. So welcome, everybody. Very live on this good Saturday night when loads has been happening in the world. We're all very happy with the Daleks master plan finds, but now I need to just kind of recalibrate a little bit of reality too. But here we go. Who have I got on? Well, let's go straight down under. Sirens of Audio. He's just been entertaining Louise Jameson, may I say. And here he is, Dwayne. Hiya.
Hey, how you going, Brendan? Love the new look for the Sense Sphere as well. It's fantastic. Love it.
Well, this is it. A bit of tubing, a bit of piping, a bit of cards. That's what you need. And obviously, I love having her on. My source adores her. We've got to get her on. And you all love her. Here she is. She's up there in Edinburgh. Here's Joe.
Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday evening.
Now, we know Joe's no shrinking violet, and because of her media production background, she's going to be quite in on this one. So good to see you as well. And, of course, to fulfill the quartet, can't keep him down. Keep him down. Here he is. It's Divine and Dragon himself. It's Christian.
Howdy. Good to be here.
Well, you say that now, Christian, but you haven't heard my news yet. You haven't heard
all we can do is hope.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, but your prayers have not been answered, mate. So everybody in the thread, I will get to you. I think you'll want me to kind of get into what's been going on. So welcome, everybody. The show is going to reveal quite a lot. So let's start rumbling along. And it is important, teach your head on here, that as I'm about to explain what the BBC said behind the scenes to my source, that I ask a question or two first of our panel who represent the fans, because it would be very, very relevant, okay? So, but the whole show tonight is what I heard from my source, my lovely source.
decipher.
Yes, the source has been active, is back on good form. So here's my lead, just to kind of lead you. This is my teaser. This is not the answer. But obviously, I'm well aware people are going, hey, Brendan, what have you heard? He started with this on now he says a senior BBC executive told him. So when fans are hoping, you heard Christian, and expecting something amazing, this big turnaround to happen in Doctor Who, the big miracle, I think they might be disappointed because for a start, someone very, very senior at the BBC told me something startling. And I will just do ... because in a few minutes' time, I'm going to show you those slides and what he said. But that is what we're leading to, something startling. You're all Doctor Who fans. What do you fear, Dwayne, I might say?
I probably fear that RTD and Bad Wolf are going to continue with Doctor Who. That would probably be the worst thing possible. I have heard from other areas, and I've got my sources too, you know.
You do.
Rumblings of other very strange things happening. And I won't spoil what I've heard yet because I don't want to spoil your announcement, Brendan.
Well,
but if what I heard comes about, it doesn't really interest me either. So, yeah.
You show me yours and I'll show you mine.
You want me to go first, do you?
Okay, Joe, what would you fear? I mean, you know, something startling. What would startle you?
I'd like to come up with something else, but really, I mean, yeah, what's the worst thing could happen? More RTD is the worst thing that could happen. Okay. Possibly Billy Piper being the Doctor.
And of course, Christine, what are you worrying about before I lead us on a bit?
All I can say is, based on the track record of the BBC so far, I would be hard-pressed to be startled by a disappointment because they have been replete with their skill sets. They've learned how to disappoint not just me, but virtually every fan and conventional viewer out there. On that basis, I would say giving us more of the same. Everyone's probably expecting it's broken. Either there's nothing happening, nothing can happen, or they're going to give us more of the same. Neither one sounds particularly promising.
No, I take your point. I take your point completely. So, let's rumble on then. So, people keep asking me, and actually, it was Joe who people tend to think Joe being a media source, and we're playing a double whammy. But of course, people do ask, who is this source? And will I say one day? Will I hell?
YouTube is melting with everyone pondering, thinking, sweating over who is the source.
Be allowed to make contact with the source.
Prepare for access to the source.
Therefore, claim rapport with the source so that you may make your judgment.
Yes, I was at one with the source, and he has delivered. So I'm getting closer. This is going to be very relevant. Dwayne, Joe, and Divine and Dragon, and I'm keeping an eye on the thread. And as Garbage says, super chats are available. Those Who Pets are here, as you saw. We've saved them from the Rirren. You can tell. The fear factor. How important is it to Doctor Who, Dwayne?
It's the whole essence of Doctor Who. When I was a child, that was why you watched Doctor Who. It was to be scared. And the parents knew that, the kids knew that, and those of us who lived through that time, we still remember that. It's very important.
Okay, interesting. Joe, same question.
Absolutely. I mean, remember, I'm a small kid in the 80s. We had 3 channels. Channel 4 came along. We only had 3 channels, and TV was a much bigger deal, you know, back then. And Saturday was a huge thing for me, and I really did hide behind the sofa. Some Cybermen scared the absolute. I've still got a bit of a thing about it, actually, and I love that. But I enjoyed the terror, and I think lots of kids do. We don't really get that anymore, and sadly, Doctor Who's not given us that for a very long time. But it was exhilarating, wasn't it? You know, waiting to see how he was going to get out of this. And absolutely, it was crucial. I completely agree. It was, oh God, you just looked forward to all the different ways you were going to get terrified. So
yeah, it worked on the imagination, didn't it, Christian? I mean, Matthew Burrows is saying it was massive. It was key. I mean, look, I'm not leading you, but where do you stand on this one? Because as Doctor Who fans, I hear a lot of people talk about this as one of the DNA elements of Doctor Who.
Well, look at it as an adrenaline rush. Young people in particular love to be thrilled. They love to be frightened. Why do kids go on a roller coaster? It's that thrill. You've got the anticipation. You've got the absolute rush once the ride is really moving. And watching a good Doctor Who episode kind of serves that very well. So it makes sense that people are hungry for more of the same. And really, of late, it hasn't quite delivered on that score.
No. In fact, I mean, I have to say, just before I move into, and I am giving the exclusive away in a moment, don't worry, everybody, but I think sometimes context is important. When was the last time you saw an episode where, I mean, Dwayne's a parent, Joe's a parent, like me, Divan and Dragon is a teacher, so you often hear a response or something. When was the last time, Dwayne, you or your kids thought, God, this is a bit edgy, tasty in Doctor Who?
Well, I mentioned recently that I had only recently shown my kids The Waters of Mars because I'd always held that one back because it was so scary, I felt, for them. And I showed them. My daughter is now, how old is she now? 10. But she was still terrified. She actually did hide behind the couch. And but she couldn't look away at the same time, obviously. But I think that there hasn't been really a scary episode since probably Well Enough in Time. That was a very dark and scary episode. Nothing's kind of matched that since then. And when was that? That was nearly 10 years ago.
Yeah. Zanetti here can't say I found the gunfighters to be scary. And yes, there is that. There are Doctor Who fans who say, hold on, there's more to it than that. And I agree. Because I actually wonder, Joe, when I talk about this, how many times was I truly scared in Doctor Who, or was I just enjoying the thrill? But, you know, when the same question that I sent to Wayne there about, you know, when you look back, did you and Gabriel, when you sat down and watched Doctor Who, when did you think, wow, this is really thrilling, exciting, edgy?
I actually just saw someone in the chat said flatline, and I do remember having that kind of reaction to it. My son's quite immune to being scared. He gets scared by really strange things, but I do remember flatline being a bit, oh wow, but I could see he was getting that same thrill. And the other important aspect to this is it places the Doctor in the hero position, because he's the guy that's going to get rid of the fear for us. So having fear in Doctor Who was really vital to add to the Doctor. You know, he's the only one that can get rid of the bad guys. And when that diminished, so did the Doctor's character start to, I felt. So the fear really is really sad that it sort of petered out.
Now, I will come to you, Christian, but I'm trying to keep up. Mad Mackham up in there in Sunderland. Thank you very much. Sorry, I've been missing, but back now. Fear, as the fourth Doctor said, to be afraid is to be alive. Great to be back and looking forward to the future of Our Who. Lay some truth on us, Brendan, and you know I will deliver, and very, very, very soon. But thank you for that, and you know I will always thank you. Now, because we're just talking about a certain theme tonight, Mad Mackham, I think I can thank you in the best way possible, and that way would be, let me think now. If we're talking about this, what about showing you this? Let's have a look. Does this work?
You will put ice in my heart, darling, and I will stand and watch you free.
Yeah, I'm teasing there, aren't I? That scared me because that was not Doctor Who, and I think it would frighten any parent. More like Autons. I mean, Rachel used to always go on about the Autons, for example. But thank you for that, Mad Mackham. But I will. My next slide, Divine and Dragon, is going to be the start of the answer for everybody who's waiting. But Divine and Dragon, same question.
I am.
I asked the other two.
You have to go back 10 years. You can go back to Flatline. You can go back to Waters of Mars. You can go back to World and Up in Time. But there's been nothing in Chibnall's version or in RTD2 that triggers that sensation, that adrenaline rush. It's like everything that you watch, yes, it's frightening. And exactly for what you said, Brendan, because it's the worst possible story. I'm frightened I'm going to see another bad story. Maybe that's what scares me and what has scared me for a decade.
Well, there's some interesting things here. Stephen Braddock, I think the last time was the Mondasian Cybermen. Hold that thought, Stephen Braddock, because some of what the source tells me actually refers to that story. So I'd hold that thought, mate. Very important. I'm getting very teacherish tonight, but I think it's very relevant. So,
were you a teacher?
Jermaine, I wish I could do this as good as Tom Baker. I'm getting a pension. Right, okay, here we go. Someone very, very senior at the BBC told me we're not going to scare children ever again. We're not going to do that because we would be fired. We could be fired. We could lose our jobs over it. We are not going to scare the children again in the way that we used to, the show used to. It's over. Doctor Who will never intend and aim to scare the kids ever again, whatever episode is made. Fact.
Wow.
I was gobsmacked and I thought, nearly everybody who writes to me about Doctor Who, everybody who talks about it on my shows tends to say, oh, could it go darker? Please make it darker, make it more serious. And added to that, when you've got the kids watching, it makes it scary. And the BBC, now remember, he says very, very senior. Are you going to go against that as a commissioning editor? Are you hell? As a brand new showrunner, are you going to go against that diktat? Are you hell? Doctor Who cannot scare the kids. Doctor Who is banned from scaring the kids. Doctor Who, to me, will never be Doctor Who again. Dwayne, am I being alarmist? Because to me, that's game over.
No, I don't think you're being alarmist. That is game over. How can you possibly like when I saw that, I kind of thought about this particular generation that they're trying to appeal to, and the kids at the moment, and I lose a lot of respect for the younger generation as a result of that. But even more so, the people who are pandering to the younger generation to make them so soft. What is going on here? You know, what is wrong with kids these days that they can't be scared, or they have to be protected so much in some kind of bubble? Because once they get unleashed into the real world, that's what Doctor Who did. It gave us the opportunity to see there were scary things out there, but there were ways to work through them and get through successfully, as in all types of storytelling when there's some kind of a threat. And the fact of the fear in Doctor Who was not it was not a I'm not quite sure of the word I'm looking for, but it was a fear that had an attraction to it. It wasn't a fear that caused, lifelong trauma. And that's what someone up there doesn't understand.
Yeah. Joe, I'll give you all fair comment and reaction, because I have to say, when I heard that from the source, it was game over. I thought, I'm sorry. Why are we even bothering talking about Doctor Who? Because if the BBC are refusing to let us do this, bah.
I'd love to know who this is to make maybe 2 points straight away. The first thing that came into my head was, so you can take away scaring the children, but you can put in vastly magnified sexual content and sexual angles and all kinds of different elements of things. That's fine, because kids are being bombarded with sexuality right now. So they're quite fine with that, but not a monster popping up. Secondly, the fundamentals of storytelling, fairy stories were scary, and it was to be lessons to children, warnings. They were vital. You know, Red Riding Hood was a warning against predators. Thing. All the stories were about that, and this is absolutely ludicrous. I'm shaking. I'm shaking. So what are they going to make it more? I mean, we got the absolute crap that they were going to make it more fantasy, take the sci-fi out. Now they're going to take the scares out. We don't have a Doctor. Let's face it, we don't have a Doctor Who anymore. Sorry, Shooty, but there was no Doctor there. So I'm quite speechless, and that's rare. I'm fuming.
And I can hear that, and we will be joined by another one who might be shocked in a minute. But I just want to kind of recalibrate our thoughts for a minute. I mean, I joined Doctor Who for this sort of thing. So Genesis of the Daleks, seeing Davros for the first time, being scared of the Daleks. I was absolutely so scared of Daleks. I'd talk about when I went to the John Pertwee exhibition in Middlesbrough and I bricked it. You know, they talked about Behind the Sofa. Innes Lloyd, and I'll have his clips from the documentary where he talks about the monster season, scaring the kids. And he said it was a program for people who were 14 to 40. So there's a lot for me to say here because there's a lot more to come from the source. This is just the opening gambit. And like I said, there's some relevance coming. But I'll ask Christian, what are you thinking about this? Because I can hear lots of things about Doctor Who. You know, oh, we're going to break the wall. We're going to do a musical episode. But we know the one-offs half the time. But if you tell me that we're going to go from, you know, if you were told now we're going to end the Philip Hinchcliffe era and we're going to go to... We can't scare the kids and go into a Graham Williams era. I thought we lost something.
Well, we did. The first thing that came to mind listening to this was white noise, static. What they're saying is they're not going to give us anything. They've declawed the show. They've defanged the show. Anything that would generate a stimulating response, anything that would excite young people, anything that young people would remember. Most of the time when we're remembering early stories, the ones that stand out are the ones that shock us in some way. There's an image that sticks in our minds. And they're saying, we're not going to give you that. We're going to fill the screen with white noise, with pablum, and you'll consume it for 30 minutes or an hour, and then you'll walk away. And 2 hours from now, you won't remember what it was because it won't leave any imprint at all. They're saying they're going to give us nothing.
Yeah, and that's a start. I'll just get a bit of feedback from everybody who's watching. So I'll be fair here, but there's more to come. Don't worry. I mean, like, you know me, he tells me a lot, and this is just his explanation. So if I can just kind of set up the screen to see what Mad Mackham, let's wrap our kids up in a little bubble so those poor little sods grow up unchallenged and uneducated. Psychologists talk about this. It is so important that kids learn through creative adversity what to do. And if we do bubble wrap them, they learn nout. Absolutely nout.
Well, I was about to say, does anyone remember South Park, a story called Sarcastiball? Wrapping the kids up in bubble wrap and trying to totally take away any potential threat from their environment while they play sports on the field. And it's ridiculous.
Well, let me just not look as I'm rude. Obviously, the screen froze a bit. John Yulden has dropped everything. He's abandoned ship on Sci-Fi Chronicles, and he's come flying on here because he's heard there was a bombshell. Have you seen the bombshell?
Is it the one you literally just had on screen?
They're never going to scare us again. Doctor Who is not a show about scaring the kids. Doctor Who is basically going to be anemic, in my view.
So why do Doctor Who then? Why don't you just do a show with it's in a padded room with kids playing with stickle bricks? You know, because it's an absolute nonsense by the people that are saying that, because I remember recently there was a Netflix series called what was it, Stranger Things, that kids were watching and was particularly scary for kids, but they enjoyed it, they loved the thrill of it, you know, and it was very popular. So that's an example of where their argument fails completely. You can do it, you can scare kids, you don't have to go full body horror.
Yeah,
but
and may I just,
it's doable.
Well, I remember Joe tells me about Gabriel. Hi, if you're Gabriel there, your son. And he went off Doctor Who for some reasons, but he got into Dexter. He got into other stuff. He still likes to be scared, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's been sort of searching for things. He's just sitting in amongst Pertwee. He's missing Doctor Who. I really feel that. It was such a big part of his life growing up. And he's really missing it. But I guess it is giving the older stuff a bit more of a chance now, and he's really getting into Pertwee, which is quite nice.
Yeah. Now, what I'm going to do in this little section before I move on with everything else the source said, and remember Stephen Braddock's comment about Bill Potts and the Mondasian Cybermen, because the source talks about that. So, SG, if any of the panel want to come in, I'll read out these statements and we'll just quickly bite on them if you want, just so the thread gets really in on this one if they can. SG, but then we're coming full circle. Verity Lambert defied a similar situation and we know what happened. Alex Shalom, wasn't there a time when boys were turned into men instead of mothered over emotional, aggressive beaters? You're a true legend. Thank you. Well, yes, I mean, paid you, well done, thank you very much. Reality War was horrific, says Cybermastrax Dan. Hello, our detoxer. I can never say your name, but you can see, isn't the show made by the drama department anymore? Surely that remit, yeah, well, exactly, Jeopardy. Surely that's what you want in any drama. I mean, sorry, go on, Drain. I'm thinking of armchair theatre, armchair thriller. I loved it when my dad would say, you can stay up. And I got scared by seeing a shadow of a man on an armchair. I was bricking it from that. I wanted to be scared. I wanted to be dared to stay up. Sorry, Joanne.
Unexpected. Do you remember that music? Ding, ding, ding. Oh my God. See, when I heard that, I was flying down this, because it was, I mean, I shouldn't have been watching it. It was brutal. It was Roald Dahl wrote Tales of the Unexpected, wasn't it? But see, when I heard that music, the hair would go up. Oh, I need to go and seek that out, actually. Thanks for...
Oh, yeah. Lamb to the slaughter. We teach that in schools. You know, I used to be lamb to the slaughter. You know, when the wife hides her husband in the freezer, she kills him with a lamb chop and she murders him. And when the police come round and interview her, they're eating the evidence because the lamb chop is actually the husband. It's fantastic. This is what kids like. And they're eating stuff. The kids, I was teaching them cannibalism. So, God, that's why I'm Duane, go on.
I didn't realize you were a teacher, by the way. I just wanted to jump in on that one of the comments there that was talking about Verity Lambert,
yes,
doing the opposite of what was expected of her at the time. But if you watch the documentary All of Time and Space, you notice that Sidney Newman, although he was cross with Verity, he was paying attention to the audience, and he realized that the audience was appealing to them. So that's why he changed his mind. But these executives and higher ups these days, and any showrunners, never seem to worry about the audience anymore, which is what makes shows successful. And so therefore, there are not many successful shows anymore. How they measure it these days, I have no idea. But Sidney Newman's view of success was, if the audience loves it, we'll go with it.
Yeah, exactly. And Farsight, thank you very much. Ridiculous. All they're doing is making a generation of kids who can't cope with anything. Well, like I said, I can't believe what they're doing. Right, okay then. What about this one? You see, this is what scared me the most. And to say thank you, Farsight, what about this?
Predictable as ever, Doctor.
So he is within the capital. Of course. He knows he is entering a trap. How can he resist such a bait? Quixotic fool. He will die quickly. Make certain he dies quickly.
Yeah. make sure he dies painfully, but not literally kill the show. I mean,
Wonderful,
me,
wonderful.
body horror. That's what got me. Seeds of Doom, everybody. Everyone understood. Seeds of Doom, the crinoid, the man being turned into a crinoid. Noah in Ark in Space. That's why I had Ark in Space in the prequel with the Hoopets. These are the things that absolutely, I bricked that bloody hand in a Tupperware jar. My God, that sort of stuff. I mean, go on,
I was going to say, mate, for me, when I was a kid and I was scared of Doctor Who, you know, the example I always have in my mind is Attack of the Cybermen. When I was watching that with my family, and Lytton is literally having Cybermen insert their fingers into his hands, and there's blood everywhere. Now that terrified me. But what did I do? After that episode aired, the VHS was rewound, and I watched that episode again because I was thrilled to see it again. Now, I'm not some super tough macho man, far from it. So if I can cope with it, the current generation can cope with that. You know, sometimes having the scares is good for you. You know, it's healthy.
Well, they used to say that the psychologists do say that the 70s kids had it best because we had to deal with certain adversity and go to bed when you didn't tell your parents everything. You were scared. Look, you asked to stay up to watch certain television programs that scared you, but you didn't then tell your parents, by the way, it scared me and I didn't sleep, because they wouldn't let you do it again next week. So you didn't tell them. So you were in bed, your head was on the pillow, and you were actually having nightmares or actually thinking, God, that really, whoa. I had nightmares of armchair thriller and everything, but by God, did I say to my dad, I'm not watching it next week? I was there. And this is it, because the psychologist said you get those hours when you have to deal with your fear.
Your problem solving. And also the Doctor was a character that would give us the solutions, because when he was up against the bad guys, he solved it. He was telling us, you know, giving us the answers and things like that. So it's going to dismantle the essence of the Doctor, because what is he going to do now? Is he just going to meet every alien? I mean, look, all RTD has done is sexualize the scariness. He takes the sea devils, and the first thing that man did was make it into a creature that a human could have sex with. I've banged on about this because the first moment I saw that new sea devil, I said, someone's going to bang that sea devil, because it's all like, because he switched to, all the writing switched to, from the writer's perspective, they lost all ability to simply write outside themselves. And you can see it. All the characters blend into this.
Yeah. Well,
don't let that man anywhere near dolphins. That's all I can say.
Well, Zanetti here mentioned the gunfighters earlier, and it's interesting because I'm learning what you're all like. So I don't know much yet, Zanetti, but that Katerina scene, very topical, mate, was intense. And there you go. We're finding Dalek Master Plan episodes where they were brave, actually, with concept and with the reality. I've had chats about, Dwayne, is it season 3 or 4 you remark about how different it was, how experimental it was, and how they really went for it, including, showing, it wasn't, when you think of everybody going on about, oh God, Adric died in Earthshock, and you actually think, hold on a minute, we had Sarah Kingdom. That death is the missing death we really want to see. That was thrilling. Katerina being killed looks horrific, and they were doing it in 65.
Yep.
Well, they didn't have a problem introducing stakes. Now there are no stakes unless the only stake involved is a question of who's going to sleep with whom. And that becomes the entire artifice of the story. I mean, I just have nightmares about Gatwa front twerking in Rogue. I don't want to see that. I don't need to see that. And it has no place in Doctor Who. But that's the direction that the BBC obviously feels comfortable taking it. Take away the scares, but let's put in some talking babies, a snot monster, and front twerking. Okay? I'm sorry.
By the way, this is something I'm going to say now, and you know I've been very critical of RTD, but does this actually maybe explain partly what's been going on with season 1 and 2? Because if that very senior executive is actually really not wanting Doctor Who to go there, then RTD has to play ball as well. I'm not giving RTD that free rein because I think RTD has had too much free rein and couldn't give a toss. But it does actually give, you know, a kind of context that whoever's showrunner, and if we lose RTD, which we all hope we do, it's not going to change anything, I'm sad to say. Matthew Burrows, we are a long way from grim fairy tales. Kids, why do we not suddenly have that? Crimpling de Bloom makes a very interesting point. Does this mean that Classic Who will be removed from iPlayer then? Just in case any fans of the non-scary new series get curious to... Exactly.
I mean, it's another example for me of the license fee needs to be removed from the BBC. I mean, you know my history, Brendan, about my dad worked for them for 30 years and I loved the BBC growing up as a kid, but they do not deserve it at all now. And any exec who is saying this rubbish, that is, for me, that is a classic example of why you should be removing those people from their positions, because if they're not prepared to do what needs to be done to make entertaining productions for the viewers, for the public, then they need to go and make way for someone else that will actually take a risk on these things. It's not even a risk, is it? To be honest with you, scaring kids. You know, what's the worst that's going to happen? That they're going to get a little bit spooked for a few minutes and then they're going to come back and watch it again. But
they can sexualize them. They can throw sex all over their faces, with no conscience about that whatsoever.
Well, Joe, what's weird is it seems to me in some cases that current Doctor Who is scaring the parents with some of its messaging, but not the kids.
My son just found out what snowmanning was. He was absolutely furious.
Yeah.
That wasn't funny, by the way, what RTD did though. That was not funny at all.
Now Joe, you're really good value coming on here. But one reason you're very handy is with your media production experience. Now, if you understood the context that somebody very high up in the channel you were working for doesn't want you to scare the kids, you're not going to do it, are you?
I would have to question, okay, if you're going to take this show to a completely new person then, because I was selling a madman in a box, alien, you know, our Doctor, the hero, up against really, you know, serious foes, and they can be different every week because we've got the whole of time and space to play with. It is the best possible concept for sci-fi, and you have got everything to play with. It's going to be scary. So tell me then, what is the show about? I have nothing to work with here.
And of course, my source keeps telling me, Joe, that it's the David Tennant era. To a lot of the BBC, that was the more successful time of Doctor Who, so that's what it should be. Just give us more Tennant-ish Doctor Who, please, is what the BBC think.
But there were scary stories in that era.
Yeah.
Sorry? Well,
there were scary stories then.
We had Blink. We had The Weeping Angels. We had Midnight.
Midnight.
Yeah, Midnight was a good one. And also probably a Treeper. Rex, Doctor Who was at its best when it was scary. The stories from the 70s are still some of the best. They're the ones people hark back to. I would say about the generations I've taught do mention Midnight. They all mention The Weeping Angels, I have to say. They mention Are You My Mummy? They do mention that a lot. So Doctor Who sometimes did go there, but less so, a lot less so. However, the Mondasian Cybermen, and I watched it again the other day for obvious reasons, because my source had been talking about it. It's relevant to the conversation. How can anyone, says Funky, say what will scare kids? I knew a mate who had a fear of shiny buttons. Will the BBC consider that? The answer is no, Funky. But a lot of us, parents, teachers, a lot of us who've been involved with kind of, you know, making sure kids have a nice childhood. Kids being scared but sat with their mum and dad is a nice, decent context. Kids on their own is a different ball game. That's why we don't let them go upstairs on the computer. That's the point. Context of the classic 70s childhood, when you sat in one room and you watched something scary, because your mum and dad are there, or your big brother and sister, you get a kind of context and you can deal with it. And I think that the stupid, idiotic, woke-obsessed TV executives nowadays, who also don't have a backbone, they're not brave enough to have conviction and say something. I'm saying something strongly now. The thread might kick off. I will take that risk, because the point is, I think I'm right on this one, that actually a safe context to enjoy something scary is very, very healthy. And I think they've
Can I just
missed the
introduce
point.
a novel concept? Maybe let the parents decide if it's scary or not for their kids, and then they cannot let them watch it. Why would a BBC executive take on the role of a parent? This is the parent's job. Like you said before, Brendan, if I said something when I was a kid to my parents scared me, they wouldn't let me watch it. So if I really wanted to watch it, I wouldn't say something and I would deal with it myself. But ultimately, the decision as to what is watched in the house or not by kids should be the parents' role. Why is it the executive's role?
It's a nanny state. That's the problem. That's the problem now.
I think we've got a situation where they are rolling over for influencers, your activists on TikTok, someone in social media. You've got a handful of people that make a lot of noise, and these are the individuals that are being catered to. They aren't catering to the families. They certainly aren't catering to the kids. They aren't catering to the fans. They're responding preemptively because they're afraid someone on a TikTok is going to say something negative that will blow back on them, and there will be a legal case they have to fend off. Better that they put out pablum and static than put out quality entertainment.
I'm Brendan. I mean, I'm going to follow on from what Joe said a few minutes ago, but they're worried about scaring kids. But when you're talking about ideology and indoctrination, you've only got to look at the official Doctor Who YouTube channel to see what they're doing with indoctrination there. The presenters of those shows, and it goes on to what you were saying as well about about kids being upstairs on their computers. They're watching stuff like that while their parents are downstairs. That's indoctrination, and that's textbook indoctrination. And quite frankly, that's a more dangerous thing than having a kid scared for a few minutes every week, and then going on and living their lives. It's wrong.
It's a really good point, because the people they are showing to represent the show are like tick box people. It's not like in the old days when it was real genuine fans they would have on the after shows to sort of pick it apart and get into the details, refer to the past. Now they've all got to have a sort of identity, and it's actually quite disturbing. That's a really good point you made there.
Well, Funky here, thank you very much. The BBC must have taken Dot and Bubble to be a PSA. I mean, to thank you, I'll show you something that scared me. It's also relevant to Dwayne's recently entertaining lovely Louise Jameson. So 2 birds with 1 stone. So thank you, Funky. But this scared me.
You incompetent fool! She substituted herself for the woman I had found.
My rats will dispose of her. Made too many mistakes. You have failed me! But until I have the time cabinet, never escape from this hideous condition!
I would lay down my life in your service.
You are dismissed, Lee Sin.
Let me find this doctor. Let me strike him down.
There you go. I mean, that scream, Dwayne. I mean, God, she's a good actress. But by God, it took me back to Barbara in episode 1 of The Daleks as well, because that was a chilling scream. And then you went to bed, and we survived, and we loved it, and we watch it again and again and again. She's getting eaten by a womble. My God, it was scary.
I will say, though, that scene was tempered a few seconds later by the wet T-shirt competition that we had. So that kind of settled things down a bit for me.
I got to come to one of those events, mate. I really have.
Oh, Lex, thank you very much. It's good to see the gang, but I haven't been live for a while, so it's good to see you all back. Gatwa Who 2 seasons were TV 14 on Disney Plus, which same rating for Law and Order. Gatwa Special were TV parent guidance. Well, remember the robot revolution, Lex Kane. Sorry to remind you, and thank you very much. But remember that poor lad who was a toxic masculine person, wasn't he? He was a bad boyfriend, and he was turned into a sperm and an egg.
Yeah.
In many ways, that was horrifying in the way that our doctor dismissed it. That a human being will no longer ever exist, and he didn't care.
He
And
celebrated it. He actually was joyous about it, and the very essence of what it or who is the enemy and the bad guy and the foe has really, really sinister to me, because it seems to be white straight man is now the bad guy, the scary man, and the foe.
Well,
and that is, I mean, I'm really genuinely worried as a parent to a young white man.
Yeah.
PB
777, Seeds of Doom was scary as a kid in the 70s. Yeah, yeah. Duncan Kilburn, can't wait to see the new special effects in Resurrection of the Daleks. And remember, Tegan left because she was horrified by what was going on. Steve likes your point, Dwayne. Nanny state. As long as kids are being scared within the safety of their own living room, I see nothing wrong with it. And it's healthy. It's actually healthy. And we're not being stupid and we're not being cavalier. That's how it works. That's how kids learn. That's why you hold their hand. Bill Silver, the Daleks themselves never scared me as a kid. I was too in love with their cool design to be afraid of them. Oh, I wish you'd advised me and be my big brother, because my God, I bricked it. I couldn't cope with it. Zach Whitten. I watched the first 5 to 10 minutes of Robot Revolution and then didn't bother with the rest. Good work, RTD2. Was special for a season opener. Yeah, exactly. Okay, then. Let's move along, because, of course, it's a tasty subject. But, yeah, that was a killer for me to see that. But, and of course, remember Revelation of the Daleks. I mean, to me, I was a bit older then. It didn't scare me, but I would have, if I was younger, to see somebody's dad beg to be killed because he was being forced into a Dalek. I mean, wow, that's thrilling. And that's why we
not only begging to be killed, but then doing it.
Yes.
That was a very shocking scene, but I think it really, it was perfect for the story, I think.
Wonderful.
So here we go. So this is what remember the senior BBC executive was saying face to face to my source. So once you've said we're not going to scare children and we're not going to have them hiding behind, oh, sorry, this is the source, obviously, given his digestion. So once you've said we're not going to scare children and we're not going to have them hiding behind their parents, we're not going to give them nightmares when they go to bed at night, then it's not Doctor Who, is it? And everybody on my panel so far has said, no, it takes the DNA. I can see the thread are fired up and I've missed a lot of comments. So please remember, there are super chats out there just so I can see you, because as I was trying to fit people in, I missed a whole load, I noticed. But yes, we do have super chats.
Somebody will save us someday. Please call.
Save you with a super chat. I'm not sure everyone's going to save Doctor Who though. So that's obviously, you can see our source thinks the same, is a Doctor Who fan thinking like that it takes away the DNA. I mean, Terror of the Autumns wouldn't be made now, would it?
No, I think the trouble you got now as well, if they're not prepared to scare children, then you're just going to create adult bedwetters who, you know, what's going to happen when they suddenly get to that age where they're at, say, 9 o'clock at night and they suddenly sit down to a drama and there's serious crime and murder going on. Suddenly they're shocked by it straight away. How are they going to cope with that? You know, at least desensitize them as kids, you know. This is the world. It might be a science fiction show. You can have themes and stories in it that relate to the modern world, and you can do it and you can layer it. But just to eliminate scaring kids whatsoever,
and the world is scary. The world's a scary place. So that
exactly.
Kids are going to be so ill prepared when someone's mean to them, you know.
I think some of the, I'm not a psychologist, but I can guess that some of the mental health issues out there are because kids have had a whole era where they've been so mollycoddled from TV and everything. I mean, a trigger warning, I think, is stupid, because trigger warnings on TV say basically, oh, it's got all these things in. And so you can self-select out. What happened to just being surprised? We were all sat with our parents during the 70s and 80s when sometimes a sex scene happened and it hadn't warned you. And you suddenly went bright red and thought, oh my God, I can't move. And we all got those moments. You had to learn how to be embarrassed and deal with it. You had to learn how to be shocked and deal with it. You had to learn how to be scared but not show people, otherwise they wouldn't let you watch it again. You had to learn. But if you have trigger warnings and everything.
All they need, Brendan, is a single master trigger warning. Maybe the first day a child goes to school. Warning, you're getting ready to enter the rest of your life following education. Be prepared. You're going to be triggered by something at least once a day. Just a blanket trigger warning covers all the bases.
Brendan, I was also going to quickly say, in addition to not scaring the kids with monsters, one thing that is missing that I really want back from a Doctor Who is a role model doctor again. I haven't seen that role model doctor in quite a long time. That doctor that every week, no matter how good or bad my week was going, I was like, I'm going on an adventure with the doctor. The doctor's going to stand up for what is right and put down what is wrong. And then I'm going to go away after that and go, do you know what? I'm going to start my new week. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to go for it again. I've got the doctor next weekend as well. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Well, the last time we saw it was Capaldi.
You want a doctor that you can look up to, not look eye to eye with. The doctor was always someone who was kind of slightly superior to everyone, but someone you could aspire to be.
It's a great question to ask people, which doctor would you call upon if you were in, the worst situation? Who are you going to call on? It's always interesting who
Third doctor for me. Humans are always squabbling about something.
Jodie, no, sorry. So, senior BBC executive thoughts. Well, also the charter. You've got to remember as well the BBC license fee, the charter. The BBC charter is constantly up for review. There is all sorts of problems, challenges around financing, the budget's being cut, the money coming in from the license fee. You've got a whole generation who will not be paying any license fee. So therefore, the BBC need to not scare the kids, is their logic.
Sorry.
I do feel as though we've got, do you know what? They talk about you can't scare the kids. We've got very scared BBC executives is what we've got.
Look, you're losing it anyway.
Go on, sorry, I know I'll cook through. PB 777, Planet of Evil, Hand of Fear, Pyramids of Mars, Mask of Mandragora, Face of Evil, Talons, Seeds of Doom, Ark in Space, Inferno. I know how many of them would be in peril now. Or if Benjamin Cook was appointed not only just to edit and colorize, but in the future you can't scare the kids. Is he going to take all the scare bits out? Honestly, I just don't get it. So you've got that. Take your pick. Look at that Arton when he came through that blooming tent. He ripped open the tent. I mean, wow. Robots of Death sometimes fill people. The Mara, that was psychologically, challenging, especially in kinder. Burning in the Pyramids of Mars, the mummies walking. I mean, are we really going to deprive childhood of seeing stuff like that thrills you? That really does concern me. Anyway, he said, I think that's just a reality check to Doctor Who fans that don't expect it to come back with a kind of really scary. You really have to lower your level now, he said. It's not going to happen. It is.
Oh, there's no level left.
There's no level. Well, he's saying eliminate your standards. Just accept what we deliver it and count yourself lucky that we slap the Doctor Who label on it and everyone's happy.
Yeah. I mean, and I want to remind everybody what Innes Lloyd said, one of the very successful Doctor Who producers, about who was watching Doctor Who. Just want to remind you.
I'm terribly proud of Doctor Who. It was a legacy given to us by Sydney. I'd only agreed to do the show for 1 year, and I'd done all I set out to do. Look, there's a limited run in doing this show, because if you do it for more than 3 years, you'd get awfully stale. I don't like science fiction. I dislike it intensely. And then, of course, I got to enjoy it. and love it. It was great fun. I discovered the fascination of it. The fascination was that you could actually do anything you wanted to.
What have you done? Stop meddling with my ship!
And don't want to make any sweeping changes. We had so many good things going for us. We aim at the 14-year-olds. I reckon on the main viewing group being 14 to 40. But I found him a very endearing man. Once one got to know him. We've all got foibles, and I think all he wanted to do was make sure that Doctor Who was always right up there.
So there you go. 14 to 40 in the 60s is what they're perceived as their audience, their main target audience. So why are we even bothered about this scaring issue? 14 onwards can make their own mind up. I just think this seems to tell me that the BBC has forgotten what Doctor Who is. The BBC is running scared on lots of fronts, but partly their their own goals that they've scored, and now they're scared of more criticism, but that's their problem. What we need is courageous producers and executives who say, no, this is what Doctor Who is. And obviously, it's dead easy. If the switchboard kicks off, then they have to have a rethink. But
they don't hire us. They don't hire us. So if I went in and my opinions were, I could. You've got to look at the internals of who's hiring at the BBC right now, because if you're not of the same opinion, obviously I'm on record of having vastly different opinions. I wouldn't get a foot in the BBC. Yeah, it kind of hurts. They also forget, they're saying 14 to 40, but what about all of us? There's a lot of over 40s. There's a big contingency of us still here, still talking about it. The poor doctor is gone, and we're still
about that 14 to 40.
Sorry, yeah?
I got a theory about that. I was thinking as that was being read, that the age 14 to 40, like most kids in the most parents in the 60s were starting to have children in the early 20s. So by the time they were 25, they would have had 1 or 2 children. So by the time they were 40, then their kids would have been early teenagers. So that kind of covers everything in that demographic. So you could have a family sitting together on television. So that demographic 14 to 40 was perfect for a family demographic. That's just what I was thinking as it was being read.
I don't think also with that comments from this executive, I don't think they actually believe it. This is my opinion. I actually think they're using it as an excuse, because when you have people like Russell T Davies that turn up who are clearly activists, and they say that, they whisper into their ears, oh, you can't scare the kids anymore. We're going to have to go this direction with it, which is pushing their ideology onto children. The executives then go, oh, you know what? Actually, you're right. We can't scare the kids. So they let them do what they want to do. And we are where we are now. I mean, but again, you could take the name Doctor Who away. You could put another franchise in, as we talked about before. Star Trek is a classic example of it. Exactly the same thing is happening.
Right. Well, I did promise you, and it was Stephen Braddock who earlier said about the Mondasian Cybermen, and I said, well, hold your fire, mate. And so it will all come together, and we're going to look at some clips as well. But anyway, what did he say? Remember, he said, we will never scare Doctor Who again. But then he continued. That Bill Potts episode, the brilliant 2 parts of one of the best Doctor Who's ever, that's never getting made again. They're not making that again. That would not be allowed. I was told explicitly by a very senior person in the BBC, we're not going to do those kinds of things again because we can't. And Bill Potts and that Cybermen episode was actually referenced. So this is really important, everybody who are Doctor Who fans out there. Now, just absorb what's been said there. We're not scaring them again. And if you, how many people say to me, it was the Mondasian Cybermen was the last dark story in Doctor Who. Right, well, the BBC have clocked that one, and it's never happening again. And so feel gutted, feel deflated. But what I will do is, with the panel and with you good friends in the thread, we will look at that, and actually we will actually analyse Is it too much nowadays for today's sensitivities, or do we all need to kind of, you know, grow up here? So here we go. Let's have a look.
Human life signs. What for? They take them away. To view as human.
Me! Just me.
I'm so sorry, but you're the reason that they're coming.
I said this was a bad idea.
Please.
I did.
I'll stop there for a second. I want to just get... We're going to look at various aspects to see whether the BBC are right or not. Dwayne, when you're upon reflection, this type of thing, as a dad, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty full on, but unlike The Waters of Mars, I was okay with my kids seeing this one. Because, I mean, that shot is shocking, but it's not overly graphic. It doesn't last too long, and you're more focused on her face and the doctor's face and their reaction to what goes on there. But when I was reading the quote on the previous screen, I just thought, well, that's it. It's over. Doctor Who's over.
Yeah. So Joe, equal with you, are you? And I know it's a graphic, you know, it's a trick, and kids would know that that's a trick, but that's how it's directed and everything. I did think with the music and everything, they really did make this a thrilling moment. However, what are your thoughts on it regarding, I mean, and as you know, I'm going to dissect it. So just on this, as a parent, is this going too far?
I actually was a big fan of this. I really enjoyed this one because the Cybermen are the ones that always scared me as a kid, that particular Cyberman. It was really haunting, you know, they're all sitting there in that ward, help me, they were beyond help. It was it really is good stuff, yeah. So as a parent, I didn't hesitate to let Gabriel watch that. I mean, I would rather he saw this gripping storyline, and you really feel empathy for the Cybermen, which is clever because they're really bad guys, but you think, oh my God, this is torturous. It gives it new dimensions and depths. And I'd much rather he watched that than the Doctor abandoning his companion to get his end off, like in the Bridgerton episode. But, you know, like what the sort of the lesson he's going to learn from this is empathy and compassion, and see the Cybermen in a bit of a different light. That's a much more valuable lesson than Doctor's going to leave his companion to die because he wants his end off.
Yeah.
I mean,
So as everybody can guess, I'm going to be showing various bits, and I have to say, when I was going back over this, I might surprise you with some of my opinions on various bits. This bit I think is okay. I have to say, I thought Face the Raven was more scary in the fact that you watched a very long slow motion death of a companion, and I thought that was interesting. I loved it as an adult. I thought it was very dramatic and very moving, actually, and beautiful music. But remember when bloody Mary Whitehouse went on about Deadly Assassin and the drowning moment and a freeze frame, and we had a slow motion death, excuse me, of a companion, and that's allowed apparently. Interesting, isn't it? Christian, what are your thoughts on this moment?
This moment did not disturb me per se, because the way it was handled, there's a certain natural suspension of reality. Let's say you'd seen viscera, innards, organs flying over the back wall. That would have been an entirely different visual dynamic and would have been profoundly disturbing. This sets the stage that a shock has occurred, but it's cauterized in a way that makes it easy for kids to absorb without being devastated. For me, later in the story, it was the more pathos-laden moments where you realize the Mondasian Cybermen are feeling pain. And you realize the trauma they're going through. Or later, the revelation that she herself has been turned into a cyber person.
Well, I can hear a lot of echo, so if I'm suddenly mute people, that's the reason. There seems to be a heavy echo. John, the same thoughts, because I'm obviously going to show all these clips. So on just this moment as itself.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had no problem with it. I kind of mirror what Christian just said there. But, you know, one thing that is important in Doctor Who is also about life and death as much as scares. It's dealing with the realities of life and death, and it's teaching kids in it that, you know, these things happen in the world. The other thing I would say as well about, you know, you compare this to Gatwa's eras, whether you like it or not, Bill was a developed character throughout that season. So you were kind of invested in the character when you got to this bit. You had none of that in Gatwa's era, but I think this was very well done. I don't think it overstepped the mark. And I think the later stuff that Christian mentioned as well, the body horror elements could have been much more sinister, and I thought was handled really well and was proper chilling and creepy for Doctor Who. I haven't seen that for a long time.
Yeah, no, I can't take this off because of the video elements. So sorry, John, if it goes over your face, the writing. I'm not meaning to. No, Cliff Maxwell.
That's right, mate.
Cliff Maxwell, this conversation is just increasingly disappointing and frustrating. Well, hopefully not what we're saying, but obviously I think you mean the content and the message of what's going on. One of the worst rated shows on TV, Doctor Who. One of the best Stranger Things. Enough said. We take your point, and I think we've referred to it. Right, let's move on. I'll show you a sequence from the story that a lot of people was the last time Doctor Who scared us. And then, does anyone wobble? I did wobble, and I'll tell you why. But here we go, another element.
You're too late. She's dead. Stand away. Stand away.
What kind of treatment is that?
Conversion is permanent.
Die me. Die me.
To survive?
Pain. Pain. Kill me.
Oh, I like the head.
It's your turn. Thank you for bringing her, Mr. Razor. It's best to get people in here without them knowing why.
You're not going to turn me into one of those things. They're screaming in pain every second they're alive.
It fits over your head. Understand?
I'll stop there for a second. Anybody's initial thoughts on when you see that? Because what I'll say is I started to wobble at it's the dialogue that we all loved at the time, the pain, 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 and the kill me, kill me. And what I'm saying is I haven't changed my opinion. What I feel as though is sensitivities out there have changed. And I worry that if we really did show that concentration again, we might get more people complaining, if you get my gist. Am I wrong? I don't know. What are people thinking when you see that now?
Nothing wrong with it, as far as I'm concerned. I think you carry on regardless. You know, if the softies out there who have got a problem with literally everything these days are going to complain about it, which they will, just do what you're going to do anyway. You know, it goes back to what I said at the beginning. If you're not prepared to take the risks and take the chances on things like this, you might as well not do Doctor Who. They should try and push it as far as they think they can get, and then that's the decision of the people higher up to pull it back then at that point and say too far, drop it down a bit. But there's nothing wrong with this whatsoever.
Well, John, you're right. This works because it creates emotional stakes in the story itself. There's an emotional investment, and that's what you're looking at for the audience, whether it's a scare or it's the sheer pathos, the emotional horror of what's happening to these people. You want to kind of trigger that emotional pathos in the audience. People are going to be afraid. Some people will reject this outright. And as you said, they will reject probably anything you put on the screen anyway. They're looking for reasons to be offended. They're looking for outrage. But if you want something that will last 20, 30, 40 years from now, this is the kind of story that does it. Not a Bridgerton episode of Doctor Who. That's not going to last, and beyond a few memes.
Joe, you're reflecting there. You're a mum and all the rest of it, and you're a protective mum. When you see that now, would it be too troubling for kids? Seriously, this kill me, and then remember the volume was just turned down. In other words, kids are witnessing characters in absolute agony and everybody ignoring them. I don't know. It just.
And it depends on the age of your kid, and you know your kid's personality as well, what they can handle. And as a parent's duty, you think, you know, oh, this is too much. You switch over. But you know, for my son, probably about age 12, could have handled this. You can also you give them the conversation and explain things a little bit and take the edge off it. But it was mentioned earlier, there's suspension of disbelief. The kids know this isn't real. You can reinforce that if it gets a bit wobbly. And it's refreshing to see stuff like this because everything is so sanitized now. But if you look at what audiences like, you were getting the Top Gun sequel, they were liking that. There was the F1 with Brad Pitt. The successes is this older content if you look at what's making money. So people still do like this.
Yeah. I'll just bring up to everybody up to date on the thread. Daryl Joyce, we all adore Daryl Joyce. I was tempted, you know, with the thumbnail to use your illustration again of the Mondasian Cybermen, but because I'd used it once and I never got a chance to ask your permission again, I didn't. But we all really appreciate, and everybody go on YouTube tonight and watch his Daryl Joyce's Mondasian Cybermen. And the BBC wonder why people are giving up on the license fee. The BBC is run by imbeciles now. They've killed any aspect the public had for them. They've actually forgotten that they are supposed to entertain, do drama, and entertainment is also entertain our brain. Don't give us puerile wallpaper TV. Give us something to make kids.
It's propaganda. I mean, it is all message. That lad, Critical Drinker, was right talking about the message, and we're sick of it.
Yeah, and it scares us in many other ways. Bill Silver, they took the fact that the first Cybermen are cloth masks from a 60s costume perspective and fully explained why they looked that way in the most horrific of ways. But it had an amazing logic. We knew, of course. Julie Coonan, why are these people who are these people whose sensibilities have changed? Would they watch Doctor Who anyway other than to criticize it? We love it. We want Doctor Who. Simon, that could be proper scary. I'm just kind of saying what's out there. I will still go with it. RTD always has earth animal-headed biped creatures rather than millions of nature. Childish. Adults would like it. Well, let's just continue with this to finish it off.
Could I just say something about that scene in the hospital?
Yeah.
What's brilliant about that scene is that when I watched it as an adult, I saw the tragedy in it behind the people that were getting converted. My daughter saw it differently. She was terrified by the voices.
Yeah.
And it's just the same as our experience having grown up with Doctor Who too. Like Spearhead from Space was always my most terrifying episode as a child. And I still love it. I have that nostalgic feeling when I go back to watch it, but I see it differently as an adult. And that's what's so brilliant about that, is that we can see it from so many different points of view. But the BBC executives obviously don't have the maturity to be able to look at things that way. It's only one way. When they put programs out, there's only one point of view. And if you don't agree with that point of view, then you're a horrible person. You're a bigot and you're not a fan and we don't want you. That's the view these days, which is very frustrating.
I mean, I don't know if they would have had. I mean, this is not me, but I'm trying to get into the heads of these BBC executives who seem to see so many agendas. Seeing a woman held and she's going to be forcefully assaulted, is that you can see what I'm doing about how their brains work. We are watching sci-fi there, and we get it. But I just wonder whether that scene when she says, but you do this and you do that and they'll be in pain, and she's held back, and as somebody who looks as though he's from 1940s Germany as the doctor, Lee is on her. I'm going to do it. I don't know. I just wonder whether they see other things, you know.
But then that's the wonder of Doctor Who. That's the doctor being there. Effectively, you're learning as a kid. You're learning that is wrong. That is not acceptable behaviour. And the doctor, if he finds out about it, is going to try and stop that as quickly as he can. That's what he
Yes.
does. That's the role model aspect. I
Mhm.
think what Dwayne said was absolutely right, because I watched it with my nieces at the time, and I loved it because I was thinking they've adapted effectively spare parts for this scene,
Mhm.
you know, which I adore. But also in my head, I was going back to when my granddad gave me the Target novel of the Cybermen, and I read that initial description about how they became the Cybermen, and I was thinking, this is it on screen. I'm loving it. But my nieces were like, "Oh, well, that's creepy," but they wanted to watch it again straight after we'd watched it. So again, that's weight to the argument that kids like being scared and they want more of it.
I think so. Farsight, thank you very much. I'll thank you in a minute. I've got one video frozen, so I can't do my thanks the another way. That wasn't as scary as Stengos and Revelation. Yeah, that's interesting. I you know, and we're each to our own. I think this is peak Doctor Who being pushing the boundaries, actually. But let's just finish it off.
Accessing.
Get back from me.
I am Bill Potts.
I'm very worried about my future.
Bill? Bill, talk to me.
I waited. I waited.
The genesis of the Cybermen.
I waited for...
Right. I mean, go on then. I mean, if there's anything new for you want to say, I mean, to see that she's trapped in a metal casing, the tear is almost like a dramatic license, because they can't really, can they? We know Cybermen can't really cry anymore. The emotion apparently has been taken out of them. So that was just a dramatic license by Stephen Moffat, really, wasn't it?
Not in Doomsday. They had a little bit of oil tear.
I know. Yeah, we needed that, didn't we? Because we have to believe that the human's still there, and the ex-head of Torchwood. Yeah, you're right. But I'm just saying now, John, maybe since Doomsday, have things changed with some elements of the audience that the BBC are scared of being triggered by?
I don't think it's the general public. And I think, like all of the virtue signaling nonsense that goes on today, it crept in, and all of a sudden everybody seemed to think that we had to kowtow to it and accept it. I don't think you do that. I think you carry on regardless. And I think what's happened with all this nonsense over the last decade or so, this is a creative, what I call the dark ages for production of Hollywood programs, movies, and shows, because it really is awful. There is no difference whatsoever whether it was the 60s or whether it's 2026. As long as you tell an interesting, engaging story, as long as you've got the Doctor as the moral center that is there to guide you through it and to let you know you're going to be okay, you can do it. You can do it again and again and again and again. This is what the executives seem to forget. We're talking about, we're so happy this week because we've got 2 wonderful episodes of Doctor Who back. Now, when that has gone massive everywhere, you know, everybody's talking about that, you know, it's such positive news. Why is that not being dropped in front of an exec at the BBC and going, you know, you said we can't scare kids anymore? Well, look at the reaction to getting these 2 missing 60s Doctor Who episodes back.
The thing is, John, you're making a very good point, but it seems to me that nobody in the BBC, because it's now an echo chamber, would dare think that or say that. Go on, Joe.
I'll give you a sort of mild exclusive from my networks. And I'll tell you what the opinion is of those of us who do work in the industry, not at the BBC, who are around it, who know people. You know what I'm trying to say here. We, amongst ourselves, discuss the fact that the people working on the show itself, just let's look at who's working on it. We had nothing but activists writing for RTD. Look at who was directing it. Look at the crew all involved with it now, and it makes sense where we're at. Even the presenters of the after show, curated, they're all the ones sitting around the tables. They're involved in it. They've got their hands, they're the current chefs in the kitchen. Now, there are other chefs out there like myself all over the place They're not going to let us in. We can't get our foot in that door to make even a slight difference. And the atmosphere is such, from what I heard, you have to be extremely on the woke side, because RTD is the top man. So if if you object to I would have heavily objected to that scene where they call Tennant, you're a male presenting Time Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have thrown the chalk at the chalkboard over that. That's ridiculous. But I can't, that kind of comment and feedback, you're out the door. And that's on a small thing like that. So the people with the fingers in it are really causing, they are not seeing outside that bubble at all. And it's completely at the show's detriment. I would love to tell you so many things, but I would get in trouble. But those of us outside that bubble are very, very aware of that bunch running it. And just do your homework. Look at who was directing, who was writing, who RTD's brought in. And there's your answer.
Joe, I'd say look at the fact that they will not talk to you or Brendan or John or Dwayne. They won't talk to anyone who's a part of the true audience that kept this show alive. They're not getting feedback from the people that really could make a difference. It's interesting. I'd be tempted to say, okay, let's do a quick comparison. Let's bring in a test audience, and we're going to show the test audience Flatline, and we'll show the test audience Space Babies, and see which one they respond to. Let's get. They're fairly recent. They're both in the last 10 years. Let them compare and say, okay, gosh, it looks like we had 1 out of 10 liked Space Babies, and we had 10 out of 10 liked Flatline. That tells you something. But they don't want that kind of data. They don't want that kind of feedback. Because
go on, John. As you come in, don't worry, John. I'm just kind of segueing it.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, I can see what Christian is saying, and actually, that's what Joe said to me in private ages ago. Joe said they should be talking to certain, it doesn't have to be me, but certain YouTubers who represent certain threads and everything as a vox pops to just hear what Doctor Who fans seem to think.
You've done far more research than anyone that I go out to hire a researcher, right? If I'm getting to be showrunner, my core team are people like you. You guys were the first people I'd be looking for. You know vastly more than I could ever hope to. You can correct mistakes, continuity. You're such a precious resource that not many TV shows would have. And it would be such fun and such an amazing show if and historically fans have been involved. And done really, really good things. There's lots of examples of that. So if we can mine people like yourself and then people like myself with the ability to make it happen, you're on a winner.
And on top of that, John, because I was going to say, John, don't worry, but they also have another important message: the ratings. That also tells them, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. And I think to follow up on what Christian said, the trouble you've got these days is the fact that they handpick those screenings now. So it's only people that go into those screenings that see their point of view. The other thing as well is Joe is 100% right from what she's saying, because I've had people tell me that before as well about they just cannot get access. They're denied because they do not think like they think. And all I can say about these people is they are cowards, because the only way to make any decent production, and this is my opinion, is you have differences of opinion. Everybody doesn't agree about absolutely everything in the show. What happens is you have a disagreement, you have a discussion, then you get creative tension, and then you come out with something that is wonderful at the end of it. You cannot make great quality television and movies if you all 100% agree on the concept 100% of the time. Someone always has to push back and go, that's a silly idea, like Space Babies. Someone should have been saying to him, you want to launch that as the first episode? Well, that's nonsense. You shouldn't be doing it. And then the viewing figures tanked, as you said, Brendan. But this is why they need to lose the TV license, because I don't honestly think they care about the TV license now. It's just 100% activism.
I think, John, what's happening is there's an arrogance that's come in, which is the establishment are so powerful now that they really don't want to hear what they are hearing. And so what they have to do is what they hear, or the people they hear, they think they have to dismiss us as something that isn't worthy to listen to. So as you know, they label you as certainly politically there, or that, you know, we don't listen to you. You dinosaur Doctor Who fans, the show's not for you. They have messaged that. And you suddenly think, hold on a minute, your TV license fee is paid by everybody. It is a tax. And how dare you start to say, no, although we get tax off everybody, this program is only for those people. Since when was that a thing? I thought it was supposed to be about mainstream and all the rest of it, and we weren't picking off. These are the same people who talk about inclusion, and yet they're doing a drama to be divisive. It makes no sense. But of course, since when did they make sense? Let's be honest. Since when did they make sense in their logic? Now, he continued with the logic on this one. So he's mentioned the Bill Potts episode that was referred to. We won't scare in Doctor Who ever again. So it's a bit like post Philip Hinchcliffe again. But he also said this. He said we would have to, this is what the BBC executive said. We would have to put it on at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night if we did scary Doctor Who. This person didn't say to me, we're not going to do that. What he said is, we can't do that at 6:30, 7:30 time. We can't do that anymore. Now, they won't put
it on late then.
What did RTD say? RTD said Doctor Who is for blooming 6 and 8 year olds. So in other words, you won't put it on at 9 or 10 at night. I'm half open to that option. Sorry, who was speaking then? Sorry, I missed that.
I said put it on late then. If that's the stipulation, then put it late. You know, people will catch up on iPlayer anyway, whatever time they want.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The timings don't matter now, Dwayne, do they? Because let's face it, because of streaming platforms and that, you can watch any time of day. The last 2 seasons of Doctor Who, kids could have been watching at 1 a.m, and then they could have watched it on their device in their bedroom, and parents wouldn't know. So this is a whole load of baloney now. If this BBC are thinking like dinosaurs and thinking everybody sits there at 7 o'clock and then it's safe TV. At 9 o'clock, it can be unsafe TV. Oh, get over yourself.
Sorry, Christian, you go. Sorry.
I was just about to say, wouldn't it be interesting? They try a gambit. In February of 2027, they actually put out a good, scary episode of Doctor Who, and they post it at 10 o'clock at night, and it's a hit. Everyone's watching it the next day. And then you come back in and talk to the same exec and say, just a minute, you wanted to go safe. The Christmas episode we got 2 months ago was a joke. Nobody watched it. We did a scary episode 2 months later, put it on late at night. Everyone is watching it and crowing about it. Now, what's this about not wanting to disturb the audience? Who are we serving? Are we serving ourselves? Are we serving a few influencers online? Who is this for?
And I think they've got to... okay, the nuclear family's changed, and not everybody sits in the same room watching TV. I get that, but the other issue is, if you are producing any TV on BBC iPlayer or on Paramount or all these things, who said that kids aren't just going to watch it on their own anyway? So in other words, does that explain why we see certain programs now where basically it's all about the emotion and you never see anything where there's any real jeopardy? I mean, it does concern me that, I mean, we know that this caused a problem, first of all.
One final effort. Kill him! Destroy him! I, the Master, command you!
Where are you, Doctor? You might as well give up now. Your life for my master. Show yourself, Doctor. Get it over with.
No. You show yourself first.
Very well, Doctor.
Goth. All right, Goth. You win.
And I can't show the actual thing unless I nicked it off my DVD, because on BBC iPlayer you don't see it. Mary Whitehouse has won on that one. I mean, you wouldn't get that now, and I think that's a loss. You wouldn't get stuff like this. Let me just show you one more, please, just to get you on triggered, so to speak.
Hurry, Doctor.
Well, that didn't take long, did it?
Long enough, I'm afraid.
Now, wait a minute. Listen to me. Now, listen to me. Come on.
Here, wait! They're in the back, sir.
Are you all right, Doctor?
Thank heavens. Nothing damaged. Lethbridge Stewart must have sent them.
Then it's not a police car at all. No, sir.
Doctor,
Careful.
where are they taking us?
Excuse me, officer. Could I see your warrant card?
There you go. Anyway, they're just thoughts over time. I can't put Seeds of Doom on because it's not an iPlayer. I can't upload it. So, any thoughts on the timings and the great moments we've seen?
I caught a quick blurb in the chat from Cliff Maxwell pointing out, and I think John made that same observation. It doesn't matter what time they put it on. If they're claiming timing is a matter, because people will restream and rewatch what they want whenever they want. So the specific time of broadcast no longer is truly relevant.
Yeah,
it's an excuse that's being made by these execs because, and again, as I said earlier, and full transparency, I've not seen all of Stranger Things. I've only seen bits of it, and there are bits in there that you could say would be scary for kids, but that's put out. That's available for kids at whatever time. They can just go on and find it. There's no issue with that. So that's another example of it's complete nonsense. You can put it out at 7:30. You can put it out at 6:30, and you can scare kids. You don't have to go down this route. It's just a lazy mindset by these execs. That's what it is.
Squinty Mint, good to see you. The Watershed is an Ofcom thing, not a BBC thing. The sad thing is, though, Squinty Mint, as a teacher, we were not scared, but we were aware of Ofsted that would come into schools. Now, they could endanger the school's rating, but you had to stay true to your principles. Some heads didn't, and some senior executives didn't, but in the classroom, I will teach what I think is a good lesson, end of. I just wonder if the BBC TV executives are so scared of Ofcom that they forget that sometimes they have to push the boundaries, because good theatre, good drama pushes boundaries. It doesn't do safe. Shakespeare didn't do safe.
This is the same Ofcom, though, who are happy with, that, you can't, okay, if that's the case, you can't scare kids before the Watershed, if that was their mindset. But these are also the same lot that are happy with talking kids shows about transitioning, So again, I hold no stall myself personally in what Ofcom say. And in fact, they need to be looked at seriously as well, because they're just as bad with the nonsense that they allow to go through as well. In any other era, some of the stuff that we've had put at kids in the last few years would have been banned 100%. I've fed up with it.
Yeah. So we've got Josie Smith. Does anyone remember Mary Whitehouse when she moaned and complained about Doctor Who being too scary for the kids? And do you remember, Josie Smith, that when I did my saloons a year ago, I used to start saying, I think RTD is a regenerated Mary Whitehouse, because actually it seemed that RTD was creating stories where he had a Mary Whitehouse filter already in. And he seems to make it silly and light and frothy and all the things that Julie Gardner, Jane Tranter, Phil Collinson, they all discussed it in that Imagine documentary, and they said, 80s pastiche, it was so light and frothy, and they thought Paul Daniels was coming back, and they made it all sound quite tedious, JNT's era. It's interesting, isn't it, how it all turns around? Anyway, he continued. It makes sense, doesn't it? Because that's probably why the last iteration of Doctor Who's been so horrendously unscary, said my source. I know people say, but why isn't it scary anymore? Well, because do you know what? The BBC aren't going to scare children. So actually the source thinks this has been a diktat for a while, and obviously he was told it directly in the last few months. I mean, it's
least of their problems. It's the least of their damn problems. Sorry. Really.
You're right.
I mean, Joe, this is starting to make me think, and nothing's wobbled me. I thought, well, even after Rogue, I will still watch Doctor Who. I may criticize it more, but it's my blooming program like everyone else's. But when I hear that maybe all the diet of crap in the future will never try and scare, will never try to go dark. Me, you, Cliff Maxwell, Divine and Dragon, we've all said, let's make it dark. And of course, now we're getting told that is an impossibility. So I'm starting to think the unthinkable. Is this the moment I actually start to say, I don't know if I'm going to watch it. I just don't know if it's worth me waiting for after the Christmas special and waiting for a season 3, because I'm hoping for a new showrunner, and so is everybody else. But if the new showrunner has to follow this diktat, game over.
I've said many a times now, my view has always been that it needs 5 or 10 years away. It needs to be away long enough for people, one, to truly miss it, and two, for all of this nonsense that's gone on the last decade to be purged and go. Until that happens, you're not going to get anything. All you're going to keep getting is it's got the name Doctor Who on it, but it's diluted and diluted and diluted every single season you get. And as you see little bits of it, but it's not Doctor Who. That's going to continue to happen, and we're going to continue having shows that turn up that are Doctor Who, and we're going to get to the end of it. We're going to do the reviews, and we're going to go, do you know what? That was awful again. That's where we are now. And I hate to say that as a Doctor Who fan, but it's not just that. I mean, look at Star Trek at the moment. Look at Star Wars. Look at the Marvel stuff. We've talked about all of these things. It's happening across the board. But you
stopped watching Doctor Who a little while back because of stuff like this. And I'm starting to get to that point thinking, Phil Owens, what scares me most is the thought one day modern Doctor Who may come back. You know what? I think one of the shames is this Dalek Master Plan. Episodes 1 and 3 have been found. And I think to every man and woman, every Doctor Who fan is absolutely ecstatic. And we can't wait to watch them. Some of us, or most of us, for the first time ever in our lives. And yet, who's going to say this in 60 years' time? Oh, that RTD2 episode. Oh, God, you know, I so miss it, you know, if it would got burnt. Nobody's going to say that because they're not classics. They're just...
They're written for him. I mean, he's as a lot of Hollywood has done. It's the time of the self-inserting writer. Remember RTD said, well, I write about my life and what I know. I can't write about anything else. So naturally, we're going to get a lot of sex and sexuality. You know, this is what we're dealing with. The only small ray of light is Disney got a new guy in who said he's going to cut back on all the woke because they're out of pocket now. It's starting to show up and hurt them financially, which is maybe the only hope we've got.
Well, they've just cancelled the Buffy reboot series tonight as well.
I
Disney,
mean, that would have been horrific.
Yeah, it would have been.
Star Trek has been, you know, we've still got a potential second season because it was shot of that Academy disaster.
Yeah.
But I hope the numbers up because literally the numbers are down. Oh, that
and let's not kid ourselves. In 2005, we would have had the same as well. We would have had exactly the same as what we got in the Ncuti Gatwa era. It's just, it was a climate at the time where the BBC then didn't allow RTD and co to do what they needed to do.
It's on a leash.
Yeah. Can I just say that with Hartnell's Ghost Point, I tried many times to overlook being so serious to analyze things in a way where there's no creative license. But I have to say, I am of that point now. If you look back on RTD writing Queer as Folk, I assume it was for adults. At the time it was put out and everything, but there were moments in that storyline that was very liberating for a gay person that it suddenly was out there mainstream. It focused on grown men dating a school child Now,
Yeah.
if you really think about that, that's not what I wanted from a liberating gay drama, actually. That's a no-no. And then you've got your comment, Hartnell's Ghost. RTD wrote the 14-year-old Jason Rose Noble character who got employed by UNIT, both against UK legislation. Yeah, there's a load of fronts here where you just think, why are we toying with this? One minute you want to say that the Rose Noble character's around 15, I think she was meant to be. Again, you still can't employ them at UNIT, for God's sake. But of course, because he decided that I need to do this character because she's an emblem of whatever, he then had to kind of somehow get her into UNIT, which made no blooming sense at all.
And the little dwarf boy on the thing.
Yeah. He
He
did.
disappeared. Where did he go?
Well, that segue went off. He crashed it. He died. It's a very sad subject. You shouldn't have brought that up. Yes, he's. All you can see is his two little legs as he went flying into something. Yeah.
Oh,
So
dear Lord.
I know it is quite depressing. I mean, come on. Who would not? We can't deny the kids this.
We were just watching Pertwee the other night. Oh gosh, what was it called? You got the big green thing with the big eye and the high squeaky voice.
Alpha Centauri.
Yeah, and you got all these diplomats showing up from different, and they all had the same shade of green because that's what the design department had to use. And we got it was so good to see them. My son lit up. We were discussing how much we were enjoying seeing a few aliens with their silly voices, and just it felt familiar and it felt comfortable and it felt like a relief just to watch it.
Well, I can't help but think of Cybermat Strikes now with Peladon. Take notes, Cybermat Strikes.
Well, Cybermat Strikes, he thinks the most scary thing about my show is the Hoopet. So, I mean, it takes everybody. Farsight, thank you very much. I think the show needs to go away for a long time. Right, bye. Okay, sorry, you meant Doctor Who. Thank you very much for that. And, of course, I will keep them coming. I can't help it. So, let's have a look. With your good. I'll treat your wife to a blue rinse. Super chat's all welcome. Anyway, he continued. He does talk a lot, the source, but I'm appreciative. Imagine the license fee comes up with the culture secretary, and imagine Doctor Who is frightening 6-year-olds, and the parents start complaining, and the Sun newspaper and the Daily Mail start saying, what is being shown across our TV screens? This is what the BBC are doing. They're frightening children. They're all left-wing, LGBTQ crazy. So, as my source is saying, he's trying to get into the heads of these people. He disagrees with them, but he's trying to get into the heads. They're scared of too many things in their real life. They're scared of their career-threatening possibilities. Lisa Nandy, the current culture secretary, as she reviews a license fee, if she happens to bring up Doctor Who, if it scared the kids, is that a game changer for their license? So they're running scared. They'll be running scared of the Daily Mail and the Sun. Yeah, I agree, because I have done in the past. But wasn't it the 60s when the newspapers like the Express used to say, is Doctor Who scaring the kids? Well, we got through that. And I thought the executives then, Hugh Weldon, and a lot of the high-ups in the BBC continued, and they ignored all that froth. But it seems to be mainstream now in TV frothy land.
But they are all left-wing, LGBTQ crazy. What's untrue about that?
Provingly, you can literally prove it. I'm so concerned about a monster and not sexualizing children prematurely. Why is this not on their radar whatsoever? And that's the main complaint that a lot of us have, is we just didn't appreciate that sort of element sneaking in so much.
Well, it gives me context. I mean, Mr. Singh already can't be shown again, as he's on my iPlayer. But what I mean is the knife. It's interesting, isn't it? Culturally speaking, in our society in Britain, there's a lot of knife crime, but we won't see Mr. Sin throwing a knife, and we won't see Leela throwing a knife. It's fascinating, isn't it? And who remembers the moment in the Sea Devils when the master turned really feral and threw a knife at the doctor? All these moments will be gone forever because we can't scare the kids, and we also can't show them true reality of what's going on outside. Madness.
Well, actually, one of the things that disturbs me is the implication that one of these days they're going to start deftly excising elements even from classic episodes. So you better, by gosh, hold on to your physical media, because you can't trust them not to doctor things.
Already are. Already are, aren't they?
Scarily sensatorial. Really, it's concerning.
Well, look at the animations. Look at the animations and what they've done now, you know. And the Abominable Snowmen is a classic example. And it's, you know, what is it they said at the time? You know, I'm paraphrasing, but it doesn't fit with modern values. And it's like, well, look,
who's behind these modern values?
Exactly. And if you've got that problem that you think that's going to be an issue, here's a clever idea. Don't bother animating it then.
Well, here's another thing. When Massouse tries to get in their heads and he says the Daily Mail, they're running scared of the Daily Mail criticising them for showing a scary Doctor Who. Aren't the BBC worried about the Daily Mail, as they have done, saying Doctor Who's too woke? Are they not scared of that? Because they should be, shouldn't they? Now, he continues, can you imagine the headline? This is what they're all afraid of. They're all wondering how to deal with the problem of what to do with this effing show. Do you keep making these light, very light, silly stories, and the ratings just keep going down and down, and you keep defending the ratings and saying, oh, no, it's great, it's great. Now, he gives us a dilemma here, right? You see, excellence, seeing walking skeletons, loved it. But he continues, now, panel, consider this. He gives us a bit of a conundrum as if you're a BBC executive. Imagine a new showrunner coming in and they say, I've got an idea. I want to come back to ghost stories, dark. Let's turn the lighting off. Let's make it scary. Let's do it much more cheaply. Let's frighten everybody to death and jumps and scares and things like this. Like that, yeah? And the BBC are going, how many jumps and scares in each episode? What do you mean jumps and scares? Do you think it's possible? Because we had this problem with Hinchcliffe to Graham Williams, says my source. Another few examples just to keep everybody aware. And then he gives us the counterbalance. Or can you imagine a new showrunner coming and saying to these executives, I want to make it more camp. I want it even lighter. I want to have a trans doctor running around in a dress. I want a musical. I want the whole thing to be a musical. Which will the BBC pick if they were going to play safe? Answers on a postcard. What do you reckon, Joe? Which one
No mention of sci-fi anywhere.
No.
Yeah, that's a little... well, we know who they're going to go with because they did. We've had the Doctor singing, and which was awful. We were told that the biggest enemy the Doctor ever was going to face. It turned out to be, you know, in that episode. He actually said that was the Doctor's biggest, scariest enemy, by the way.
Yes.
That drag queen, he literally said that. I was fuming.
It's my scariest enemy as well, to be honest, Joe.
He was actually right, wasn't he? He was absolutely right.
But Joe and John, you must have got it wrong, because while he did say that, I agree, he did say that, but then they let the drag queens talk to little kids and tell them stories. So somebody's got this wrong somewhere, because it's actually, you want the scariest person that the Doctor's ever faced to be with little kiddies telling stories, don't you? This is what I mean. There's no logic in all this blather that they're telling us, is there?
I take offense to John saying he's his scariest monster. It's the scariest monster, John. Get it right.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. Oh, Dwayne is so on trend. He's so on it. Yeah.
Is he pronouncing tonight? Are you?
Oh yeah. He's pulling rank. He's That's very good, very well done. You've been well schooled. He's got no unconscious bias. He's had the lot, Dwayne. I think.
I've got to go for my unconscious bias training on Monday. I have to do that. I apologise, Dwayne.
No, Dwayne is a Cyberman. He's a Cyberman for the love easy. He's been trained. He knows how to talk to actors now. You see, that's what he said. He, they, it. Yeah, he knows all the pronouns and he knows all the badges. He's really good, Dwayne. That's why we get him on. That's it. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I on my final thoughts before we do start to kind of wrap, and I've got loads more. There's another 31 topics, everybody, on what my source has said, and that's not the American source who's got the links with Disney and loads to come. But Dwayne, I mean, as a wrap up, I mean, are you really? I just don't know where to go with this thought. It's not like a revelation that the BBC are going to do 2 episodes and because some people were saying, what's your bombshell? My bombshell is I'm just never going to get scary Doctor Who again, and I am gutted.
I think that's...
Yeah, well, I'd already reached the point where I'd lost all hope of anything good anyway, so it's not really anything extra for me. But it doesn't surprise me. Isn't it sad that you say it's a bombshell, but yeah, I kind of am not surprised by it, anything like this anymore. So it's a bit of an indictment on how things are over
Dwayne,
recent times.
I have to say, Dwayne, I think a part of it is based on the failure of Chibnall's era and certainly the RTD2 run. Our expectation is that the BBC should learn from the experience and say, this has not worked. We need to pivot. We need to find a direction that does work. And what you've just revealed, really, I think all of us are feeling the BBC has taught us that they don't have the capacity to pivot. They can't course correct. And so we have to wait until there's been a lag time of years and a lot of people have left the board and there's a new crew coming in for a new revival to occur. But I just don't see it currently.
Currently, I don't know if I see it at all. These BBC executives are not disappearing. And let's face it, Joe, because it's your turn on your concluding comments. When you think about it, if a top executive is thinking like that, the people they recruit have to think like that. So in other words, if people say, like John is saying, give it 10 years, not much will change in the TV world in 10 years. If the people who've been appointed by these top executives thinking this have now just risen through the ladder, nothing's going to change, is it?
The only hope is to fight. I mean, I don't even know if money and budget is the BBC's weakness, because for most companies, it's if you're not making profit, things will change. You can force them to change by proving that going this direction will make you more money. You're hemorrhaging money this way, and that often wakes a lot of them up. But the show is, you know, that they've insulted us. RTD insulted the fans to our face. We had the Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, insulting the fans, telling people to touch grass. We've actually been, I mean, look how disgusting that is, just from, you know, just step outside, how they are treating the audience and the fans. So they're actually starting from a base of negativity and hostility from the start. So they don't give a monkeys about us. So we're already in an impossible situation from the beginning until their attitudes to the fan base is sorted out. We're in trouble. I mean, I really don't know what else to say. It's quite disgusting, and I hope books get written on this, because it's actually deeply interesting how they did it to Star Wars fans, and Star Trek told us we were terrible, and that's quite something if you think about it, to spit in the face of fans. So
yeah,
I'd love to know what was going on. I mean, it's obviously been going on, and definitely the sci-fi community has been targeted. I know it started off by let's get girls in, which was nonsense because the girls were there. We loved it just as it was. We had Ripley, we had Princess Leia, we had great role models. They didn't need to turn every woman into a man. So there's some nefarious attack on sci-fi itself that, you know, we need to look into. It's a deeper problem than we think.
So this is going to be interesting. Tara, you will get scary Doctor Who again, just not in the way you think. You'll get someone worse than RTD and Chibs. Yeah. In other words, what are we hoping for? And that's why it was a bombshell to me, because I've given up on this era with RTD. But honestly, when I think the next showrunner will have to kowtow, I just think, oh dear. John, your final thoughts?
Not a surprise to me at all. I expected this. Doctor Who, as I've said, pretty much finished at the end of Capaldi for me. It's been downhill all the way. It's nothing. It's not Doctor Who since Capaldi went. It's just been diluted again and again, and filled back up with activism. I think with the execs, where it shocked you, Brendan, again, it doesn't shock me. I suspected this would happen, and I thought it was going to be Pete McTighe that took over, because it was going to be another one of the boys' club that thinks exactly the same as they do. You know, maybe RTD and other people coming back for a guest writing part every now and again, but it'll be the same slop that's put out and repeat every season. On and on we go, the merry-go-round. The Doctor Who I loved is gone. I've accepted that. I've moved on. I watch it purely for review purposes now, and I love the stuff up to Capaldi. It's an absolute joy.
John, you've said it a few times now. The end of Capaldi was your end of Doctor Who, but you've just heard tonight that is listed as something that will never be shown again. So in other words, they don't see that as a watermark for Doctor Who in the way we do. You see it as a high watermark. They see it as a low watermark.
Yeah, they're talking about it though, aren't they? From a scaring the kids perspective, though, aren't they? Is that correct? That's how they're seeing it. Which, yeah, again, that backs up what I said about it was the end of Doctor Who for me, because it's not coming back. If the mindset has shifted so much that you're going to put activism in all across the board on Doctor Who, and you're worried about scaring kids, why even bother making it? Just consign it to history and then create your own new diverse science fiction or drama show and go forward.
It makes sense when you hear that they're doing CBBS Doctor Who. You can then suddenly see how this all works out. They've just turned it like froth. Final words, Christian, before we go for this time. But, you know, when you've had a little think about this.
I really agree with what John is saying. What really the whole panel has revealed, the demarcation line for most people is going to be the Capaldi era. We're not going to return to that under the current iteration of the BBC. They don't have the capacity to course correct. And doing something like CBBS does reinforce this kind of psychology, the messaging that they're pushing. And it's distressing to me because I'm a science fiction fan. I hate the attacks that it's been under for a decade. I grieve at the loss culturally that we are witnessing in our lifetimes. Things do pivot, they do change, but it takes years. And the damage that's been done may take years, nay, generations to undo. I'm not sure any of us here on this show will be around when things recover, if this is truly the course the BBC wants to pursue.
Yeah. So just before I ask for shout outs and all the rest of it, this is, I mean, God, please, can we get back to stuff like this? Please.
Servant welcomes thee.
Master, look upon my face. Look. Is this the face of Sutek?
Spare me. I am a true servant of the great Sutek.
I am the servant of Sutek. He needs no other. I will bring Sutek's gift of death to all humans.
I bring the woke gift of cracking on Doctor Who. Oh, honestly. So first of all, Dwayne, you're having the life of Riley. Sirens of Audio, but he's had Louise Jameson there, and I'm jealous as hell. Go on, tell us about your channel and what you're up to.
Well, we are coming back. We've been on a very extended break, and that's still happening because I'm enjoying it too much. But in between, we have had Louise Jameson in Australia in the last couple of weeks. She did a show in Sydney and Melbourne, and she even came down here where I am to Tasmania, and I was able to, because she wanted to come and have a look around Tasmania. So I took her to see some convict ruins and some Tasmanian wildlife and some sights and around the place, and she really enjoyed it down here. And you know how they say never meet your heroes? Well, she is the absolute opposite of that, because she is nicer than I could have ever imagined. It was an absolute thrill to be in her presence, and yeah, it's an unforgettable experience, and that I'll treasure forever.
And is this anything going on with Louise Jameson with Sounds of Audio? I mean, or was it was the event that you did?
It was just the event. She has been on the podcast a couple of times before, and she may be on again at some point. But yeah, just the events this time. And she also did her one woman show at the Sydney and Melbourne events as well, called Shakespeare's Mistress, which is it's a bit of a biography of her life, but she intersperses it with bits of Shakespeare that she performs, because she's such a lover of Shakespeare, and boy, she is an incredible actress still to this day. Very busy, so she took time out of filming Emmerdale to come out to Australia. So she's raced back home very quickly, and she's back up in Leeds, I think, where they filmed Emmerdale. And so it was great that she was able to take some time out to come and spend some time with us in person.
Oh gosh, well, you know, everybody Sirens of Audio, he does our detoxes, but God, they've got a very productive professional channel to have a little access to. Plenty of really good interviews there. Now, next to me here, going the wrong way, there's a little channel called Sci-Fi Chronicles 7. I mean, honestly, and it's going gangbusters at the moment. You're having a Boomer Doug virus, taking off. They're doing. Go on, you big it up. Go on. What
thank you, mate. I mean, we're just it's Sci-Fi Chronicles 79 on YouTube. We do Doctor Who reviews. We have Stargate SG1 watch parties on Sunday evenings at 8 o'clock in the UK, and we're doing other stuff. We've just slaved through 10 weeks of Star Trek Academy. I almost attempted Japanese ritual suicide by the time I got to the end of that. And we've got lots of great stuff coming at Stargate, Star Trek. I know Christian will like me saying this, Babylon 5. So we've got it all ready to roll. So check it out if you want to find something else to do when you're not here watching this crazy rascal.
Yeah, because one thing I was thinking whether I mess on with the Star Trek reviews and that. I've left that to John in a way, because I thought, hey, I am hoping I'm the Doctor Who channel. I've got my sources. I am passionate about Doctor Who, and I'm not letting it go. I'm not. I'm back on Monday. I was negotiating while I was driving. It's allowed. I was talking, and Stefan's on. We're going to discuss the latest finds. A reprise. We're going to focus on episode 1, The Nightmare Begins, and episode 3, The Devil's Planet. We're going to focus on them, but little bits of tittle-tattle. Stefan knows more than I realised. So Monday night at 7 p.m. we'll be live. So join us on an update on Film is Fabulous and what shenanigans are going on and what are we going to get in a few weeks' time. We discuss some good news. So the Sense for You is back. We haven't just got piping and tubing and neon. Oh my God, we've also got shows. So, Christian, I'm not aware of you having a channel, but thank you very much for picking this one to come on and be one of our favourite panelists. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And Joe, equally so. Joe, I'd have you on every day if I could, but I have to allow you to have a life. But thank you for coming on.
Can I just ask, my son and I are working on a book about autism and food, because autistic people are notoriously difficult with food. So if any of you are interested in sharing your food stories, look me up on Twitter, Miss Chat Noir. Thank you.
My son has autism and had serious sensory issues as a younger child too. So
Huge thing
I
to
know
work-
exactly all about it. Yep.
Yeah. All that. I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully we can do something.
Oh no,
to
we
help.
worked through it. It was all good. It was all good.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Yeah, things can be dealt with. Look, thank you. That has been a stellar panel. My source calls you the stellar panel, and you are the stellar panel. And if I could have you on all the time, I would. But you know, you have to have a life as well. Thank you, everybody. I've enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to get back. I was stuck on the M62. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you again on Monday, and look out for Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. Look out for Sirens of Audio. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
See ya.
Good night.
Bye-bye, all.